Welcome to the ADHD Women's Wellbeing Podcast. I'm Kate Moore-Youssef and I'm a wellbeing and lifestyle coach, EFT practitioner, mum to 4 kids and passionate about helping more women to understand and accept their amazing ADHD brains. After speaking to many women just like me and probably you, I know there is a need for more health and lifestyle support for women newly diagnosed with ADHD. In these conversations, you'll learn from insightful guests, hear new findings and discover powerful perspectives and lifestyle tools to enable you to live your most fulfilled, calm and purposeful life wherever you are on your ADHD journey. Here's today's episode. Hi everyone. So today we're doing things a little bit differently. We decided to do a little bit of a pod swap and I have got the ADHD as females, ADHD AF, ladies Laura and Dawn on the podcast today, and I am on their podcast as well also this week. And I'm so excited to bring them to you because they are just fabulous women. They share their story, they share their craziness of being neighbours, but also starting the podcast and doing what they do in the neurodivergent arena, how they're helping so many different people. And I just love the connection that we have different podcasts, we're serving different communities, but essentially our premise is the same, and that is helping with acceptance and awareness and love and compassion in the ADHD community. So I really hope you enjoy this conversation. They are hysterical. I think you'll see this is just basically us having a really good chat, and I really hope it helps you and brings some light to your situation, but also lots of guidance and support. So here's today's conversation.
We're so excited. It's double trouble, isn't it? Like we're going through it for ADHD Awareness Month.
So for the listeners, so they can understand, English is Laura.
Squeaky voice Laura. And Scottish dulcet tones Dawn.
Yes, hardy Scottish. I don't even know what I would call my voice, but yeah.
Sexy.
Yeah. So I absolutely love your story. I don't know it in intricate detail and I would love to hear a little bit more, but am I right in saying that you ladies are neighbours?
Yes, we live 6 doors apart. We moved to the same street at the same time, at the same age, with the same undiagnosed disability. What are the chances? Yeah.
Incredible. And you're both loving animal print as well. And so the fact that you've obviously got huge amounts in common. Tell me I'd love to know the abridged version of how this all came about. I mean, how does this even happen?
Well, I was just going to say one word, which is impulsivity.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, what happened was I had a barbecue. So we moved during the pandemic. And when the restrictions lifted enough to socialise, it was outdoors. And so I said to Dawn, would you like to come around for a barbecue? We sat outside. I poured her a glass of wine. And the very first thing she said was, excuse me if I talk too much. I think I've got ADHD. And I said, no way, me too. And that was the start of it. We both started on our own safaris of ADHD because we don't love the word journey, safaris. And I found the ADHD Adults podcast was recommended to me by a friend. And I said to Dawn, you should listen to this. And she said, we should start our own. And that's it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But that's the thing with ADHD is that impulsivity. Sometimes it can lead us into all sorts of calamities, but sometimes it is absolute genius. And we just jump without looking and worrying. And clearly it worked. I did exactly the same with my podcast. You just jump and you kind of expect something to kind of hold you. And what you do is very niche because you bring humor, you bring honesty, truth, authenticity. And I just love the difference between our podcasts because we've all got the same, message. We all just want to help create more awareness and create more connection and community. And I love what you girls do. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about what made you both decide to seek these diagnoses. Like, how was it showing up for you? And what age were you both when you got diagnosed?
Well, it always been a bit of a running joke in our family that I had ADHD, but it was never taken seriously. And I think that's just because of what people thought ADHD was, including ourselves, that it was little boys that get it. And it was never taken seriously. And then I'd approached someone about it. It was a therapist. She's like, you don't have ADHD because you can hold a conversation with me.
You've got a vagina.
Yeah. obviously I could hold that conversation because I was in turmoil and was looking for a way out. And so I was focused on that. I kind of dismissed it until a friend turned around to me one day and she said, my friend's just been diagnosed with ADHD. And she was telling me about her symptoms and how it shows up for her. And it sounded like she was describing you. So that kind of was the little kick to get me looking back into it and actually taking it a little bit more seriously. And that's how it started. So I just kind of hit the ground running with it. And I'm like, yep, this is me.
Yeah.
So how long ago was that?
That was when I was 38.
Okay.
That it was
2 years
yeah,
ago.
May 21.
God
I think
knows.
it was. Yeah.
21?
May 2021.
We always remember, don't we? We remember exactly
Yeah.
the month.
Yeah.
And what about you, Laura?
Well, funnily enough, further serendipity is that it was through a conversation with a friend. So a friend of mine who I would see as very together, good job, good with money, well, looks after herself, sat down and told me she'd just been diagnosed. This was actually a little bit earlier. So I think I was 35. And she said... And she's telling me all this stuff, and I was like, God, but this blows my mind. This isn't, how I would, or what I know of ADHD, I would never relate to you. How does it affect your life? And she started explaining it, and I jokingly went, well, bloody hell, if you've got it, I've definitely got it. And she was like, yeah, about that. That's why we're having this conversation. And I was like, right. But then I went to get an NHS diagnosis, completely oblivious that would be a hard thing to do. I honestly thought, having battled my mental health, battled eating disorders from my teenage years, I've had a million doctor's appointments over the years. I just thought it was going to be that. I thought it was going to be that straightforward thing. It wasn't. The pandemic hit. I just coped and cracked on until I met Dawn. And then I was like, oh yeah, that's why life's so fucking hard. I should address this now. And that's that. And that it was a year after we met, almost to the day, that we put out the first episode.
Yeah.
And we were on our different paths. And that's kind of what we've documented whilst pulling people along for the ride.
Yeah, because what you do so well is your community. And I absolutely love that. I mean, the fact, what are the chances that, I know, obviously you're English, Scottish. Do you live in Scotland? Is that right? Where are you guys?
Yeah.
So we live in a really tiny, quirky little fishing village. It's called Fitty, and it is on Aberdeen Beach. It's literally on the beach.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing, weird and wonderful place. It was designed by the architect who designed Balmoral. It's these squares. There's actually some documentaries about it.
Yeah.
And it's magical, isn't it? It's
Yes.
like a real magnet for creatives.
Yes. It's a beautiful little place. And when I decided to move here because I'd just come out of a toxic relationship, a breakup, and I was really trying to sort myself out. So I moved here, I quit my job, applied for university, and this was all part of this process of me kind of understanding myself. And so I moved here, started posting about it all over social media, hashtag Fitty and Fitty Life, all the rest of it. And that's where Laura
bulldozed in. I basically, my husband got a job. We thought we were moving to Ibiza. I lived in Ibiza a long time. We thought we were moving to Ibiza. And then his boss said, actually, no, we're not going to allow that, but you can move to Aberdeen. And my husband came up telling me, laughing, because there's me looking at places to live in Ibiza, and he's like, they want us to move to Scotland. And because of my impulsivity, and also because I am a bit woo-woo, actually.
Yeah,
I was like,
too.
Right then, let's go. That's the opportunity that's presented itself.
Incredible.
Let's go to Scotland. That's what's meant to happen. And when we got here, it was deepest, darkest pandemic, October 2020. Won't last that much longer, will it? And we were in an apartment, which was all, that's a whole nother story. I won't go down that road, but found Fitty and was like, now I could live here. This I could get behind. And so I was so excited. We found a property. We were very lucky to get in here. And I was looking on social media because I was excited to move. And that's how I saw Dawn. And I literally went,
wow.
Oh my God, I'm moving to Fitty. I moved in maybe 3 weeks after you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's it. 6 doors apart, same age, etc.
Yeah.
Well, if it all goes tits up with the ADHD thing, I think the Fitty Tourist Board are going to be like employing you straight.
Well, they already have coach loads turning up, peering in through our windows as it is.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
Oh my God. I mean,
Not
first
for
of all,
us,
I've never
not for
heard. You've sold it to me. I'm thinking I want to go to Fitty. It sounds incredible.
It is an amazing place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the fact that you're on the beach as well, I wonder if you guys were naturally drawn to that because you know how calming and regulating that
Yeah,
is. The
exactly.
amount of people I know with ADHD that are drawn to being by the sea. So you get to go for walks on the beach. Is that like a thing?
I've been for a big one this morning. Dawn's more into the cold water swimming.
Yeah.
I know it's very good for you, but I'm a bit nesh. I'm not going to lie. So I'm like, my toes go white. I've done it.
Well, you're a southerner, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm southern softly, 100%. And I lived in Spain for about 15 years. So no, it's not really my vibe. But we do beach things. But the funniest is that we can often see the northern lights. And one time we were getting these apps going off saying, oh, the Northern Lights are out tonight. She's dancing, blah, blah, blah. We're like, can you be bothered? Like, no. And so we sat in our houses and didn't walk out of our front doors and watching the Northern Lights.
I know.
It's terrible.
That's what happens if you see it all the time. It's like, oh, whatever.
We're like 50 meters away from the beach, and it's nice having that on my doorstep.
Yeah, it really is.
Right, I need to see pictures. So when this goes online, I want to see pictures of the beach, the Northern Lights. We're going to push Fitty. You're going to be pushing the house prices up here.
Please.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting is like Ibiza or Aberdeen, and that spiritual side of me is kind of like, I would have been like, we're going to Ibiza, of course it's Ibiza, but you just accepted and kind of welcomed in this kind of diversion, and look what an amazing route change it's been for you. That you've created this incredible space for so many people.
I think it's all very surreal. Everything that's happened is very surreal, and we haven't stopped running. And we haven't actually had a chance to really look after ourselves in any of this, is the truth of it. But I always knew, because I'm so badly affected by weather, and I've always chased the sunshine and I've chased the fun. And I know myself that I could be shrouded in darkness on a 30-degree heat day with nothing to worry about other than whether I've got guest list or not and what dress I'm going to wear tonight. So I knew that coming to Aberdeen would be so incredibly challenging for me. And I was like, I'm up against it, because I need these things that I've put in place just to get by, just to keep my head up. So I knew that coming to Aberdeen was like, this will kind of be the making of me, because if it's going to be hard, and if I can come through this, then I'll be all the better for it. And I knew something was going to happen, and it did.
Yeah.
So when you were, I guess, Ibiza, I've been a few times, and that lure of the debauched kind of like party lifestyle and all of that.
I don't know what you mean.
And I'm thinking, maybe it was a universal diversion for you to be somewhere that, that wasn't as accessible. But, on the flip side, I'm very similar. Like for me, being outside, weather, the sunshine, like it really has an impact on my mood. And I can imagine that many months of the year in Aberdeen, it's dark and cold.
Oh, yeah.
Is that how do you struggle? Both of you, because seasonal affective disorder is actually one of the big comorbidities of ADHD. So how do you work with that?
Well, having a fire is nice.
It is nice. Cozy and down. Absolutely. For me, I went hard with the dopamine decor, because I've never, let's not lie, it's not my house. My husband bought the house. I'm terrible with money, but it's the first time I've ever had anything that was mine. And so I spent the whole of the pandemic like looking for all these colours and things that I could do. And basically my house is like something out of, I don't know how you describe it.
The dopamine den.
It's the dopamine den. I've got a rainbow staircase. I've got leopard print carpet. I've gone for it. I've got leopards all over the walls, because that, when it's horrible outside, I can't even bear to look at it. So I actually, and it's not healthy, but it's what I do. I just close the blinds. I close it down, I put the nice lights on, and I sit in my house and go, well, this is colourful. I can pretend that this world is colourful when it's actually everything is grey. Aberdeen is called the Granite City because everything is made of granite. So on a beautiful day,
it sparkles.
Stunning.
Yeah, it sparkles.
Sometimes everything is grey.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people could relate to that, because like you said about, you can be in Ibiza on the beach and still feel low and depressed. And so we have to have these little tools, don't we? And little ways and hacks that we can pick ourselves up. And I believe that having the awareness of ADHD. So I guess, for you girls now, when you had that awareness, like what changed in your lives?
Everything. Gosh.
Go on, do the mic drop. Do it.
Everything. Well, yeah. So like for me, I think it's basically identity, because we would ask the question, who were we before our diagnosis? And that my mic drop moment was in that moment I realized I was everybody else. Like, I have been a chameleon. So although there are parts of me that are me, there is so much of me that is dependent on who I'm with.
What do you want?
I'm the chameleon. I present myself in a way that I think people want me, rather than just being myself and setting my boundaries and telling people what I want and what I need. It's always been the people pleaser, making sure everyone else is okay. But what I'm really coming to terms with just now is understanding that being a people pleaser, you might look as though you're helping people in doing what they want to do, but actually long term that's not beneficial, and you end up causing more trouble than you want to. So, and that's really confronting, because if you spend your life trying to make other people happy and then you realize you're actually causing problems,
making them unhappy, and you're not being yourself and making yourself unhappy.
Yeah, it's like,
it's a lot.
Double negative, you know? And so that's kind of where I'm at just now, is like kind of reforming and taking ownership of my identity and who I am, and fixing the problems that have occurred along the way as I learn how to put new coping mechanisms in place.
Yeah.
It's that you've been in this process of unmasking. And I think what's interesting is when we work in this space and we're doing the podcasting, it's sometimes very easy to lose ourselves and not do the healing and the processing ourselves, because we're there on this mission. And as incredible as it is to know that our podcasts are helping lots of people, sometimes that we do need to make that space. You know, I just had a break from my podcast. I needed that break. I probably could have gone on for longer, but I also love making the podcast that kind of like really feeds my soul. But to have that space and that time to process and really look inwards is vital. And I do think it's long-term this. It's not like diagnosis, few weeks processing, bingo, life sorted.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest condition, in the sense that it answers so many questions, but it just opens up this new kind of like portal to so many other things as well.
Yeah.
I don't know any other condition like it.
Yeah, it's a lot of peeling back layers.
Yeah.
And once you've peeled off a layer, as soon as you get that and you're like, oh, you get the relief from that one, it's just like, oh, you're confronted with this other one. And it's like, oh no, another one. I thought I had them all off, and there's more and there's more and there's more. And it can be exhausting. It's tiresome trying to figure this out. And then especially being late diagnosed. And I think if you have the support growing up with an early diagnosis and understanding, then you're not going to have all these unhealthy coping mechanisms. I mean, you might still have some, but growing up without the diagnosis, then you've got to understand, like, okay, what are the coping mechanisms that I've put in place? First, you've got to figure them out, because you might not even understand that you're doing half of them. And then once you've figured them out, you then have to learn how to stop them, how to change them.
How to recognise them before they play out again.
Yeah, how to change them.
I think my big one is self-trust. When we went on tour, I talked a lot about these situations. I'd end up and I'd be like, oh my God, how did I get here? And this frightening realization that I am unsafe in my own hands. And I feel like, for me, like, I've got way past that. Like, I make better decisions. I know what's going on. I can recognize my impulsivity, etc. However, I've now just got a whole new one come in, where I realize my own vulnerability in the trust that I put into people and things, the energy that I put into people and things, is that actually I do get really badly taken advantage of. I do get trapped in situations. I am the underdog. I am downtrodden. And then you're like, suddenly, having gone from this place of feeling like here I go, I'm going along and things are getting better, I'm suddenly like, and now I feel massively unsafe again. That's hard. But can I just be honest, in the name of shame eradication? I've forgotten the question.
So have I. It's fine. I genuinely can't remember the question, but I think you've answered it both beautifully.
Okay.
But going back to what you said about self-trust, I think that's so important, because that was the biggest thing for me as well. I didn't trust myself.
Yeah.
And I didn't, even now I'm going to London tomorrow, and I've checked my train ticket loads of times. I've checked the time. I've checked that I've not made a mistake. And I'll do it again and again tomorrow as well, because that level of self-trust is still like, well, you always make mistakes. You always cock up. There's always something that you miss. And it is reprogramming the way we think. And actually, I've got like some free resources on my website. And one of the most downloaded free resource is an EFT practice on self-trust.
Yeah.
Because I recognize that self-trust and ADHD is like self-doubt. Like I'd make a decision before I was diagnosed and I'd doubt myself, well, no, like you can't do that. And the doubt and the spiraling, and it would just block me from doing all sorts of things. So I think it's really, so many people would be so grateful to hear that this self-trust thing is still playing out. But I think the more we, like you said, like we notice the impulsivity, we notice when we're doing something, we're in preventative mode, that trust begins to grow because we have evidence that we've made the right decisions and we've made choices that work for us, and we're being authentic, we're removing our mask. I'll give you a really pathetic example, but yesterday I went to get my nails done. And at the end, I realized that I didn't love them. Like she'd done something and the ends weren't quite right. And I sat in my car and I looked at them and was like, this is going to annoy me. Like it's going to get really annoyed. I was just like thinking, I was like, could feel the blood like boiling. I was like, do I go home and just suck it in, or do I go back, get out my car, walk back to the nail salon and tell her? And I think the me a year ago wouldn't have done that. And I went back in and I was like, I'm really sorry, but you've kind of filed down the edges and now like the colour's not really there and I'm just going to annoy me. And I obviously was super apologetic and it was all my fault.
Of course it's your fault. Of course it's your fault. How dare you?
And I felt awful for complaining or even like just saying, would you mind just fixing it?
Yeah.
But she did it and I walked out and my nails now look better than, I wanted them to. And so that was basically, I can't remember the point of the story, but it was basically
trusting yourself. Like,
knowing that it's okay to speak up and it's okay to go there. We're all learning, aren't we? We keep going.
I think also there was something else that's like in my mind, so it must have been part of a question somewhere. It was about when we are podcasting and we don't look after ourselves and really like acknowledge that time or whatever. I feel like for me, I don't feel exactly the same way that Dawn does, in that I didn't, like, I'm trying to find myself.
Yeah.
I've basically been the same person since I was 14 years old. That is the truth. That's why I'm so immature and so ridiculous, right? But I felt that there was something wrong and I got the answer. And when I got the answer, I was like, and then I looked around me, saw that it was everywhere, saw that all these people were suffering, and at the same time, I lost my best friend around about that time. And I can't really, as much as I miss him, I can't deal with the injustice. I'm so angry about it and there's nothing I can do about it. But you know what? I found out this thing and I can do something about this. And it's not so much that I think that I'm going to start a revolution and I'm going to change the world and I'm the person. I don't know what I'm talking about half of the time, but I can do something. Yeah. I can use my voice. I can speak to other people. And that is my drive. And for a while there, I thought that maybe I was bargaining. It's the bargaining stage of grief. Well, if I can just do this and if I can just do that. No, it isn't that. I've got to the bottom of it now. And it's just like, I know the answer. I can see it in front of me. I can see all of this suffering and injustice. And I'm damned if I'm going to let it carry on. Yeah. Not on my watch. And that's what I'm doing. But at some point, I do sort of need to look after myself as well.
Yeah. And that's it. There's a level of that with myself is like, the reason I started the podcast is because I know how I feel about myself and how much I've struggled. So I don't want other people to struggle in the same way that I have, because I know how debilitating it is. I know how awful it makes you feel. So if I can do something to help other people, then that's what I'll do. But at the same time, I have to remember that I still have to help myself in all of that. And that's where you can get a little bit lost.
If you are wanting to learn more about your ADHD and how to help yourself from a wellbeing and lifestyle perspective, please do head to my website, ADHDwomenswellbeing.co.uk. I've got lots of resources on there and workshops, downloads. I have lots of free resources. I really want to make sure that you're able to get access to the information and the knowledge that you deserve. So please just head to my website. I'm uploading new content all the time and I really hope it helps. Now back to this week's episode. I mean, what you ladies did over the summer was awe-inspiring. Am I right? Was it over the summer?
Ridiculous. Incredible.
Can you tell the listeners what you did and how you did it and like where it's going?
What didn't we do? Are you talking about the Too Much tour?
Yes,
so
I'm talking about, like, it's incredible what you did.
So basically, the reason why we're sat here in leopard print is because the leopard is the symbol of Aberdeen.
Yeah.
It also symbolises, I've forgotten, resilience. It's reclaiming of power. That's the big one. And we're 40 and we're British, so we're a little bit Hun, right? Yeah. So that's kind of, it's an in-joke and it's a bit fun, and people have jumped on board with it. And what we've really pushed with this podcast is this message of too muchness. So we are all different, but Dawn and I are very similar. For all our differences, we are similar in that we're too loud, we're too brash, we've been too slutty, too aggressive, too drunk a million times, all of the things. Like, we're the wrong ends, right? And so when we started looking into this, and we knew nothing about anything, just that we had this thing. We don't know about the etiquette. We don't know about the community. We don't know about how it looks for other people. We've just dived straight in. Started to realize that when you're talking about like neurodivergent events, for example, you know, there is this idea, there is a lot talked about with sensory issues of people being overstimulated, and this need to pare it back and be quiet. Well, the pair of us couldn't be quiet if we fucking tried, right? So, and I'm the opposite. I'm understimulated. I am pathologically bored, actually, and I need stimulation all of the time. And what I was noticing on different forums is that even within the community, there is this kind of, we're too much.
Yeah.
I hear it said a lot, you know, that squeaky one, the one with the laugh, the annoying one, she's too loud, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, hang on a fucking minute here. I've not been an outcast my entire life to finally find that I'm actually part of something, to then be told I'm too much for that.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. So we flew the flag. We flew the flag for everyone who is too much. And there are loads of us.
Yeah.
And that is never to discredit the people that are quieter, that do need to have some time out. That is, you know, totally respected, but we needed to carve a path for ourselves, because even within the community, we were further downtrodden. And I totally understand that my voice is annoying. It doesn't annoy anybody more than me, I promise you that. But I hope that in uniting the community and in speaking up and all the good that we have done, that even if you can't bear the sound of my voice, you will at least respect all of the work that we've put into this community.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I don't think your voice is annoying or squeaky. Well, I don't think so. I just think you're so right. Like, this ADHD community, we're so different, and also, you know, like what you asked on our podcast before, you said, well, what shows up for you? What are your traits? What are your comorbidities? And it just shows how different it is. Like, it's kind of like different volume levels, isn't it? Of, this is bigger for you and that's lower for you. And all these different traits. And so you are going to be attracting your community.
Exactly.
I attract my community.
Exactly.
But we have this underlying kind of common denominator of like, oh shit, we now know what's going on. And yeah, we want to help the people. And I love that you are speaking to all the other people who have felt too much in their life. And I've got so many friends who are the loud ones, the crazy ones, the ones that just like love going to a party, the ones that you love to have in a room, but potentially don't want to go on holiday with for 2 weeks.
and the irony of the whole thing. The irony of the whole thing is that in being too much, in feeling too much, and being told that we're too much, we feel that we're not enough. And that
we'll never be enough. We're never good enough to sit at any table to keep our heads up. I said to you in the when we were interviewing you, you know, we probably should have reached out to you from day dot, like, hello, you over there, you're doing this thing. Would never have thought of it, because I was like, well, she's not going to speak to us. Like, she knows what we're doing and we're rubbish. You know, it's that kind of idea, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
But so what we did was, somebody suggested that we went on tour. They afterwards said, oh, I only meant let's go for beers. But if you want to give me an idea, I'm going to do it too much.
Yeah.
So it ended up as, was it 16 shows?
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I mean, 17 if we include the Aberdeen one as well that we did first in March. But I mean,
I loved it, but I was dead.
It was too much.
It was too
much. It was absolutely too much. And I think, like, credit where credit's due, Laura carried that when it came to organising. We're getting everything done. I was finishing uni. I realised that I'd bitten off too much. And this is a big part of my understanding and me learning about myself just now, is that I people please. So I say yes to everything because I know I can do it. I know I want to do it, but I'm not taking the full picture in the full picture into my picture.
Well,
I don't even,
the
Yeah,
wider
yeah,
scope
I'm not
of it,
looking at the whole thing. And so I'll say yes to all these things. And my downfall is I overcommit. And then when I overcommit, I become overwhelmed. And when I become overwhelmed, I stop.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're organizing a whole UK tour and your partner
with
suddenly
liaising with 16 different venues, because just for anybody, because we interviewed somebody the other day, they're like, how about your management? It's like, management? No, it's just us. Me here talking to 16 different venues, 20 different guests, all the like, oh my God, it was horrendous.
Laura had her work cut out and really had
It's giving me palpitations thinking about it. The fact that you guys did, but you did it. I understand totally, Dawn, what you're saying. Like, I'm exactly the same. I overcommit, overwhelmed, then like really do freak out, and then I have to like cancel. So now I'm getting better at basically saying I'd really like to do that, but I can't do it until, for another 3 months. And that impulsivity, that dopamine part of me just wants to do it now. And like, yeah, of course, like, ride on the momentum. But I know how easily, how prone I am to burnout. And so when I think about you girls doing 16 venues, and is it Q&A? Is it comedy? Is it storytelling?
Like, how do you
even... It was accidental comedy, wasn't it? We basically took... we came up with the concept that we would turn it into a game of bingo, because that way we would keep the attention of everybody, because there's a potential of a reward. You could win the bingo, etc. So keep people focused. And also with the fact that we're pulling balls, it means that each show was different for us. It didn't go in the same order, which kept us engaged. So no two shows were the same, even though they sort of were. And stupid shit, like I was pulling balls with my kitchen ladle, mostly because my skirt was too short, but also because I was like, I'm coming out of the kitchen.
Yeah.
Like I'm out. So we did that. And then it was, so we had that. We had Nicole Nadler, who was writing her Edinburgh Fringe show, Why Am I Like This, on the road with us. So she was doing sections for it.
And she wasn't supposed to be on the road with us. She was coming to our Scottish shows, and we essentially kidnapped her.
We kidnapped her.
So it changed and developed
and I
went.
had this idea. There were a couple of times where I would tell these really shameful and hard-hitting stories, and basically broke my heart. I made this joke like, oh, I'm miserable, I suck the energy out of the room. That's not true. It's just that they were really confronting stories.
Yeah.
And then you're supposed to go, and I did this awful thing, let's play bingo. And I was like, I can't do it. We have to put some songs into it, because we had songs at the beginning and the end. So then in the end, it just became this Masayoki karaoke, ridiculous songs, bingo, whatever. Ridiculous.
God, it sounds incredible. Did you come to Manchester? Because if you did, I'd be so upset.
We came to Salford Lads Club.
Yeah.
We played in Manchester. I'm actually doing a show there on the 9th of, I was about to say May. That was when we did the tour. December, doing some Christmas shows, which Dawn will likely be at, but it's just me doing it because we've learned our lessons.
Yeah.
There's live shows.
Well, I will be there, and I will make sure that all the links, and if your tour or whatever you're planning in the future is in the show notes.
Thank you.
But I'm going to come to that so I can meet you. And
it's even more ridiculous than the last show, just because
it's going to be incredible.
I don't have Dawn by my side, so I'm leaning full into the ridiculousness.
But, and that's been part of the learning process for me, is like I need to know when to stop and know when to say no. And now I'm in third year university. Yeah. I'm not going to lie, like I am struggling at the moment with trying to like make sense of all the things that I'm doing and make sense of myself and
do your degree
and everything else.
What's your degree on?
I'm doing 3D design, so ceramics, jewelry, product design.
She's amazing.
I'm still trying to figure out which direction I want to go in with that, etc. And so I had to actually admit that doing live shows at Christmas time in December, as soon as I've finished the first semester at uni, is actually going to be too much for me. And I'm scared to let Laura down. So it took me a long time to be able to admit that I can't do this because I don't want to let her down. And so I kept saying that I'm doing it. But then
in the stress that then comes and the kind of negative feeling about it that then comes, that's what lets me down. Because I'm like, I'm actually really excited to do this. Do you actually want to do this? Like, it's so confusing.
And that's it. It causes so much tension. So I was able to put on my big girl pants and be like, you know what? I don't think I can do this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard because I want to do it. there's a huge part of me that wants to be there and wants to do it, but I can't commit to it with everything else that I've got on at the moment.
Yeah, because the point is, when we started this podcast, Dawn, we did it after Dawn's first year of uni, so it was a summer project for Dawn.
Yeah.
I was always going to the moon. I had a whole campaign plan. I knew I was going into this like, this is what I'm going to do with my life. Whereas Dawn wanted to do it, wanted to get her voice heard, wanted to help people in the process, but she was doing a degree.
Yeah.
We were in completely different places with it when we even started.
And the whole reason for my degree is because ADHD, undiagnosed ADHD, robbed me of an education. And now I have an opportunity where, well, finally I have actually some self-belief that I can do this.
Because you're amazing.
Because I didn't have that. I thought I just wasn't academic. So for me, getting this degree is so important, but so is the community. And it's like, right, I have to figure out like how to make everything work without holding Laura back and, you know, keeping our friendship and our work and everything that we're doing working too. So
it's a lot.
It's a lot.
What I absolutely love about this community is that we can be that honest and we can say, and I know that the listeners get it, and I know that your audience will get it, because we all understand this so well, so sort of innately, that when we can be real and say, listen, I just can't be part of this project, or I need to pull back on the podcast, or I need to have a break. The amount of people that messaged me when I said I'm having a break in September, and they were all like, good for you, you deserve it, like it's so important you look after yourself. There was not one negative comment. It was all, I totally get it. It must be such hard work. Yeah. So we're in the most understanding community possible. And when we're late for meetings and when we drop the ball and we do things and certain things happen, it's only understanding. It's only kind of like compassion. And for you to model that to your listeners, you know, to say, listen, I'm doing a degree. There's just no way I can be part of a tour while I'm doing my degree. And the fact that you've waited so long, and it's so inspiring and it's incredible. I mean, I'm intrigued as to what was life like career-wise for you both before your ADHD diagnosis.
Very different.
Go on, tell us. I love an ADHD career story.
I very much was the person that was just like, I just need to do what society expects of me. I need to get the job and find, like, you know, be financially stable and work in an office and do what everyone else is doing. So I worked primarily in logistics as my career, but I jumped from job to job, like all over the shop, because I could only stay in a job a certain amount of time before someone found out that I was a fraud.
But it was the same industry, so like 10, 15 years? 10 years?
Yeah, I mean 10, 15 years, give or take, but there was also bar jobs, because I would lose a job somewhere and then I would work my way up in the bar industry to a managerial position, which was too much. And then I would leave that and go back into logistics. And I was just bouncing about all over the place, never really finding my feet, because I was never actually doing anything for me. I was trying to meet society's expectations.
Yeah. For me, it's totally different. The way that ADHD presents in me is that I've said it, I'm basically unemployable. I can't hold down a normal job. I genuinely can't. I did 2 months in an office when I was 17. It was just like a receptionist job. I couldn't make this go to there. Like, I have a good head on my shoulders. I am intelligent. I can write. I have a lot that I can give to the world. But the basic kind of tasks that a normal 9-to-5 job requires, I don't have. And on top of that, the emotional side of ADHD and the RSD side of ADHD is absolutely debilitating for me. And that's something that is a message that I do really want to push, is quite often it can look like, because I'm the person that gets things done, because I don't sleep, because I've got all these ideas and I keep moving, is it looks like I'm doing all right. But the truth is, it's people around me that I find impossible. Like, I can't get up every day and go to the same office. Like, I've had little jobs here and there, but somebody looking over my shoulder, an email thread, like, these are the things that actually keep me up at night, to the point that it's debilitating. I cannot do it. So I found things that I liked, that were hobbies, and I made them my job. So I was a scuba diving instructor. Very dangerous. Anybody who came to the Too Much store will know at least one of many stories in which I nearly lost somebody their life because I have
Oh my
ADHD
God.
and I didn't
Yeah.
know that I had ADHD. I was just doing my best. So unfortunately, I had to give that up, even though that is my biggest passion in life, was scuba diving. I made hats for festivals. I put glitter on people in nightclubs in Ibiza. That's my work history.
Yeah.
And a bit of our work. Like there's no, you know, but I've lived hand to mouth. I've lived hand to mouth my whole life. I've never, you know, when people had iPhones, I didn't have that. My joke was always like my clothes are sequins or rags. I've got going out clothes, or I've got a swimsuit and a pair of denim shorts I've been wearing for 5 years because I'm on a boat anyway. Like I literally haven't had the basic things that people have had, that basic stability, having a house, having a phone contract, being able to do anything that isn't just cash in my hand that somebody's given me for doing their hair on that day and putting some glitter on them at a party. That's all I've ever had in my life.
Yeah. I mean, I know that so many people can relate to that. I really do. And you know, I listen to you and I just so resonate on every level because I was exactly the same. I couldn't work with certain people sitting in an office every day. I mean, thankfully, I used to work in PR and consumer PR, and that was different clients, different accounts. But that same sitting in an office with the same people chewing in my ear and like, oh, and so I knew that I had to work alone. Like I knew from a very, very early age, I have to work alone. I have to curate my own hours. For me, my biggest values is like freedom, autonomy, space, choice.
Autonomy, that's a good one.
Yeah. And when we don't know that, we think, well, that's wrong, that's bad. But think of all these incredible entrepreneurs that are definitely neurodivergent, and like Richard Branson and I mean Elon Musk, whatever you think of him. But all these things, they've just gone off and done their thing because they couldn't do the other things that other people wanted. And so that's when we need to celebrate these ADHD brains.
100%.
Because we're trailblazing, we're following our intuition. And just because you can't, you know, pass a phone call to another line, I totally get that. I worked in...
Because you can't look at a spreadsheet, never mind operate one. I can't look at one.
Me too. But when we find that place, when we find who we are and how we like to work, that's when we succeed and that's when we thrive. And look at you now doing what you're doing in university. So I just celebrate anyone that just follows their path and just listens to what works for them.
100%. And do you know what else I think is really, really funny? I always make the joke that I'm a bit like Tim from The Office. I'm looking around for the camera like, is everyone all right with this? Did you hear that? Like, I don't get what's going on. I do not. I mean, I get what's going on, but I don't understand why everyone else is all right with it and everyone else is able to do it. And so my otherness and being outside of everything has led me to just have this weird way of thinking. Like, I remember when I first said to my mother, look, this is how my diagnosis went. This is what I want to change. This is my experience. She's like, Laura, who would listen to you? Like, you're going to go and speak to a doctor. Like, who the hell are you? And it isn't. It looks like arrogance. It looks like, who the hell am I to be telling a doctor how to do their job, to tell the government how to run the country? Who the hell am I? Who fucking knows? But I'm not having it. Yeah. And that kind of separation from society has made me able to just go, well, what the hell else am I doing? I don't get it. I'll just do this, you know? And and I will give that to ADHD, actually.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's incredible. And just before we finish, I'm interested, when you got your diagnoses, did any other members of your family, like, did you see it in family members? Did it help you understand your generations a little bit? Because I found that really helped me a little bit with a bit of healing.
I mean, I definitely recognise it. My mum, whenever we speak about ADHD, she's like, oh, but I was like that. And I'm like, well, that's probably because you have ADHD. But then my brother thinks it probably came from my dad. My oldest brother got diagnosed around the same time as me. He actually got diagnosed first, and I still don't understand how he managed to get seen quicker, because it was both through the NHS. I ended up going privately.
Penis.
Yeah, exactly. I ended up going
didn't want to say it.
I ended up going privately in the end, and only was I able to afford that through the help of our community members, because it's them that donated to help me pay for my private diagnosis, which I am ever, indebted for, because I wasn't in a good place, and I needed that I needed the help. And so to be able to access that just, changed everything. But I probably shouldn't say this on a podcast. I might get in trouble. But my middle brother is probably ADHD.
Just outed him.
But he's high functioning. He's a CFO. Like, he doesn't stop. He's just go. And so he's doing well, and he's able to, work with harness it and use it. And I guess being, a white male's probably benefited him to get the correct help and support that he needs as well. So
for sure.
I think that's the thing though, isn't it? Like a lot of this, diagnosis, medication, coaching, anything, like there is no way of going, you've got ADHD, which means that you should be on medication, which means that you need a doctor to tick a box to say that you've got ADHD. All we are talking about ever is quality of life.
Yeah.
And some people need help, and some people need more help, and some people don't because of where they are in society. Like we said, intersectionality, how they've been treated by their family, what opportunities are in front of them. But some people really do need help. And that's what it's all about. So we never want to say, oh, everyone should be on medication or everyone should get a diagnosis. Self-diagnosis is completely valid. But the point is like, if you need help, you should be able to access it. And if there was more awareness and understanding and compassion in society, then maybe people wouldn't even need to be diagnosed because they're just self-accepting and the society's accepting and their talents are celebrated.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Wouldn't it be wonderful? What do we say?
Let's put that out there.
Yep.
Let's put that out there.
Plant the seeds. We never remember this. Plant the seeds for the shade.
Plant the seeds for the trees whose shade you will never sit under.
There you go.
Oh,
that one. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
There you go. And on that philosophical, little anecdote or whatever you call it, I totally agree with you. And listen, it's been an absolute pleasure, getting to know you this morning. We've spent 2 hours together.
And we've taken up all of your time, and you're already 20 minutes late for what you said you were going to go to.
It's fine. Sorry. It's fine. What time is it? As long as we're okay. We're okay. I'm gonna finish now. But honestly, thank you so much. And I can't wait to share this episode. And anyone that wants to listen to your podcast, it's available on all podcast platforms.
Yeah.
Find these ladies, honestly, and then the tour, I'm going to get links.
Yeah, it's called an ADHD AF Christmas Laura with Carol crossed out. It won't just be about me. That would be boring. It will be fun. It's just bringing the community together at what can be a difficult time of year for so many of us.
Thank you.
And if I can make it, I will be there to support her and the community as well. So
fantastic. Okay. Well, thank you so much, and I hopefully will speak to you both soon.
Thank you so much. You're
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode. I hope you found what you were looking for in this conversation, and it's helped guide you towards some further self-healing, self-exploration, and most importantly, self-acceptance. And if you have enjoyed this conversation and would like to experience more of my work, such as access to exclusive live workshops and opportunities for group coaching sessions, connecting with other like-minded women, and a general feeling of belonging, please come and check out my monthly membership, the ADHD Women's Wellbeing Collective. I've made it as affordable as possible, and I offer you lots of resources and opportunities for connection and support from other women all around the world being diagnosed with ADHD later on in life. I'd absolutely love to see you there. All the details are in this episode's show notes or on my website, adhdwomenswellbeing.co.uk. See you in the next episode.